Welcome to Talkin Jets. My name is Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my lovely co-pilot, Mr. Dom C. Dom. How you doing tonight?
Oh, just peachy, Ryan. Just peachy. I love this team. I love where we're at. I love our coaching staff. I love our quarterback. Love our owner. Love our stadium. Lots of
We
love.
are trending up, I can tell. This is
Lots of
playoffs written
love for the Jets,
all
man.
over it. Boys
There's
and girls, hit
still a
that like
chance.
button. Oh, saying there's a chance. Boys and girls, if you're coming in here, make sure you hit that like button for us. There's a poll question in the live chat. And for you guys listening to this after the fact, if you want to comment down below, Jets quarterbacks in 2025 will be, and there's 4 answers to this: Rodgers plus a rookie, Rodgers plus Tyrod and Travis, rookie plus Tyrod and Travis, or a vet plus Tyrod and Travis. If I missed something in there, you guys could throw something on there. Like, obviously, if it's Rodgers plus a rookie, I would assume Travis is here, Tyrod's still here. They're both under contract and whatnot. So I just can't plug that many characters into a poll question. So there's that. Dom, before we get too far into all this stuff, we do want to talk a little bit about quarterbacks for next year. This show started in its inception as the Talkin Jets draft show. So now that we're kind of at this point in the season and given the way everything's kind of gone, I think it's okay to start pivoting our attention towards that. So we want to talk about some of the college quarterbacks, some of our thoughts about this past game and the state of the Jets. We've got Quincy saying stuff on, I think it was Instagram, Sauce going off on people, him and O'Leary having a little bit of a spat. Definitely not what you love to see out of our young players, and social media just seems to get us every single time, and we are starting to spiral out of control. So I want your thoughts, Jets Cardinals, and the aftermath of everything since then.
I mean, is there much to say about the game? For real,
dude, I was checked out. I was like, I said before this we were going to lose, and I thought we would need 30 points to win this game. We just didn't get anywhere near it, but we did need 30 points.
So, I mean, listen, I'm always confident going into a game, and you know, this one was shaky. Although I did predict or did expect us to win, I think we can win. Like I said, I come into this season, you know, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna word it specifically like this. So hear me out before you jump down my throat or the chat jumps down my throat. This is a talented 53-man roster, right? There is talent on this team, right? There's no denying. I think the talent on the 53-man roster can hang with anybody. Like, I always think that they have a fight, a puncher's chance. I'm questioning that thought process after watching what happened in the Arizona game. It was lifeless. It was undisciplined. It was just flat. Like, I mean, somebody has to have the stat. I'm sure somebody put it out or somebody could look it up easy. Like, in this solid regime, what's our record coming off of an extended break, whether it's after a bye week or after a Thursday game or something like that? 0. We've won 0 games.
0 games. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that extends to Thursday night football into, other games. Yeah. And I'm not sure if it falls under the same thing if you have like a London game or like, Sunday into Monday night or something like that. But
yeah, it was just like pathetic. And I'm, I watch the games with vigor. I root, I cheer. And right off the jump, man, I just felt for some reason like the energy was just zapped out of me. And, just like you, I checked out. I had it on. I was kind of emotionless through the whole thing. It was almost like giggling and like, I can't believe that this is the product that we have. And, I had those discussions with people, through text and through, discussion with my wife and through, social media and whatnot. Like, for me, I'm in my 40s, man. This absolutely is the lowest I've felt as a Jets fan because of the expectations being so high. And I thinking that we had the roster, the 53 men on the roster that could meet those expectations. And man, the disappointment in that not panning out has just been like unbearable. So that was it for the game. Like I said, like you, I was kind of checked out early, got into, I had it on 2 screens, and was doing some draft stuff, doing some film study, and some recording on the other screen while the game was on. But yeah, I checked out early, man. Checked out early. Now, the whole back and forth with the social media thing. I think we have to remember that we're all adults, us and these players as well. Like, it's one thing to cheer for your team, and it's one thing, like, you can criticize. We have every right to do it. Social media is a platform that opens up, people to kind of take things over the top at times, or sometimes gives them a platform to really be heard. Where in the past, 6, 7, 10 years ago, you and I might be chatting about it and just say, fucking Quincy Williams, can you believe what a bum that guy is? Now people try to step on people's necks, and I think it's like that stuff doesn't do it for me either. Like, be a fan, criticize if you want to criticize, but we're adults, man.
Yeah, that's kind of where I fall on this. Going back to the game, as soon as I saw the Cardinals go right down the field and score, I was like, it's over, it's done. we're not going to do it. Like, I seen this too many times, and they didn't even like necessarily just kill us on the ground. Like, obviously Kyler can, run around. Connor's really good, but like, they just fucking took us to town. They beat us left, right, and sideways, and it looked like we had no passion. It looked like we had no drive. We after a playing at 4:00, we got to see the Broncos lose on the last play of the game, which would have put us in a great position. In years past, that is a game that gets this Jets team fired up. Like, hey, we got a shot. We come here, we take care of business, we got a shot. And this team feels like they think they have no shot. And I think the fan base feels that way. The coaching staff doesn't know what to do. I am just done with the hope and glimmer of this team. I'm over it at this point. I'm really disappointed. And I agree with you. This is the lowest I've felt as a Jet fan because of those sky-high expectations. I would say last year hurt more, but this year is significantly more disappointing.
Yeah, because there's no excuse anymore. There's no more excuse. Last year you had whether or not you believed it or not, we had an excuse. We lost Rodgers after 4 plays.
Mm-hmm.
What's the excuse now?
No.
It's Rodgers after an Achilles injury. Is that the excuse? Is that what we can hang our hat on?
Dude, I'll be honest, the Quincy stuff and the Sauce stuff, super irritating. I think it's absolutely a culture problem. It'd be nice if there was an option on, Twitter to like, don't respond. Like, you can interact, but like, don't respond. Just have the self-confidence, have the self-restraint to not respond. I really like Sauce. I think he's a really good player. I think, fans are just getting under his skin. And as fans, look, we are fanatics. That is the part of the name. I understand the passion and everything that comes with it. Sauce does not have to respond to any of this, so it's totally on him. And the criticism wouldn't be there if he was playing well. I mean, not from our own fan base at least. But
yeah, well, and to that point too, I think some of us, not you or not I, and obviously no one in this chat, because you guys are all model citizens, I'm sure. But there is, I still think, and you can think I'm wrong, but I still think there's a chunk of our fan base that's so jaded that they relish in things not working out perfectly, right? This guy's a bum. He's always been a bum. This guy can't do anything. I've always said he can't do anything. Like, there's some people that would rather be right than be happy. And that's the mindset that I'll just never understand.
And I wouldn't even say be right, but like I want the gotcha moment. Like, Sauce has been a 2-time All-Pro through 2 years of his career. He's playing like dog shit right now. Like, I will flat out say that. I have no issues, with admitting that. But like, man, do we flip on a dime when it comes to our own. And it's really frustrating because I think that turns players off. I think it makes us, one of the least liked fan bases across the league for players, for coaches, for, obviously our media gives us a hard time already, but it's the fan base too, especially with the social media and whatnot. And hey, these channels, my channel, the Talkin Jets channel, O'Leary and Bean and 𝐒𝐮𝐬 and Richie and everyone, falls under the social media, bubble, and we all get excited about stuff. But man, it feels like we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes almost. But man, I'm at a point right now where seeing all this stuff, like clearly culture is a problem. Like it's not just Sauce, it's Quincy, it's other things, that we're seeing pop up throughout the weeks and like little mannerisms and things like that. For me, I am so over the Aaron Rodgers experiment right now. Like I would go so far as to say, let's hit reset right now. Tomorrow morning, Woody Johnson walks in, Joe Douglas, you're fired. Aaron Rodgers, you're cut. Devontae Adams, you're cut. We're gonna run it back with not run it back, but we're gonna roll with Tyrod. Maybe you bring in someone like a Tannehill off the street just to have an extra body in there because you're probably not playing Jordan Travis at any point. And I think you need to start looking at the future and saying, hey, we need to start courting GMs and head coaches, and we need to prove right now through the end of the year that this locker room is not worthy of blowing up entirely. I would say this team has some building blocks. I want it to be seen as some sort of desirable location. And I think Rodgers is kind of an anchor holding us back to some degree in terms of someone really wanting to come here at this point.
But do you think, Ryan, let me kind of dovetail on that. Do you really think that cutting those guys, Rodgers and Devontae now, I'm talking, here going into week 11, week 12 at the bye week, whatever. Do you think that cutting those guys now does anything for the locker room?
I think that shows ultimate accountability. Really
divides.
GM gone, Rodgers gone. Like, because you're going to split his cap hit. It's post June 1st, so it's this year plus next year is when you're taking his dead cap hit. And at that point, it sucks. I'm sure Woody Johnson probably wants to hope Rodgers comes back next year and they could recapture stuff. And that's kind of what I was hoping with new coaching. But I'll be honest, I don't really want Rodgers around a young quarterback. It just doesn't feel like a healthy environment for like nurturing growth. Tyrod, I feel like, can be a perfect bridge quarterback. There was a point when Rodgers got hit and he went to the blue tent, and I was like, oh, I kind of am interested to see what Tyrod looks like. Because I don't think Aaron is like washed, but I just think between the coaching staff here and like, I don't know what it is. There's just something about our team and something about the locker room. Like Rodgers may go on to have, play another year or two, whatever it is with another team. I don't know if that's here with us. I don't know. I really don't. I don't think, it'd be nice to just have him retire and just sort of like, oh, hey, season's over. We're going to cut Devontae at the end of the season and whatnot. But I think you have, what do we got? 7 games left at this point. I think the best course of action is to eat some of that dead cap hit now, eat some of it next year, and just try to show that there's players worth holding on to for this team.
Well, we were talking about it briefly before we went on air, and I put a tweet out there earlier this afternoon, and it was straight. It wasn't, I literally copied and paste, gave the credit to Jason from Over the Cap, and he laid it out specifically, and he said, and I'm paraphrasing now, if you cut Rodgers, if you move on from Rodgers next year, not post June 1st, but you just take your medicine all next year, you move on from Devontae, if you move on from Allen Lazard and Greg Zuerlein, and then you tally those 4 up with the rest of the contracts that are expiring but have void years, the DJ Reeds, the Tyron Smiths, the Javon Kinlaws of the world, all those guys, will be just a hair under $90 million in dead cap money, and which is about
a lot of starters,
which is about $10 million more than what. It's actually about $12 million more than what the Denver Broncos are operating this year. They're operating with a $78 million cap hit, and it's about $20 million more than what the Bills are operating on this year. So, both of those teams are competitive. So it's not out of the realm. If a clean break and a real reset is in the cards, that makes sense. You in the off season, you just, you cut the cord, you take your lump. 2025 is going to suck. It's probably going to be a 3-5 win season. You have two quarterbacks on the roster already. Tyrod's on the books for $6.8 million, and Jordan Travis is on the books for under 600,000. So at least you have two pieces at the quarterback position. You can bridge Tyrod Taylor. You can see what Jordan Travis is. If he's anything worthwhile, feasible. You have some other pieces. You have four pieces of your starting offensive line right now coming back, right? Because you have Olu. You have Simpson under contract for another year. Yeah, obviously, you took the option on AVT, and you have Joe Tippmann. Yeah. So you have four pieces of the offensive line. You have your entire running back room. You have Garrett. You have Malachi Corley. Do you need some other pieces? Yes, you need a right tackle. You'll need a tight end, other than Ruckert. He's the only tight end that you have on there. You'll need a lot of pieces on the defense, but it's a move where if you take your medicine, if this is the route that you want to go, and to me, I think it's the cleanest route to really show an incoming GM. Listen, we're taking all of our medicine now, but guess what? 2026, all is well. The cap is going to be all fixed. Sure, you might have, a little bit of dead cap money here and there, and just from contracts, but you're talking like probably a couple million, which is in the grand scheme of things is nothing. That's the way I think that you could get this team to be attractive, because you can say, listen, in 2025 is going to be bad. 2026, you're going to have a clean slate, and you're still going to have guys like Breece Hall. You're still going to have guys like, Quinnen Williams. You're still going to have guys like Sauce Gardner. You're still going to have guys like Jermaine Johnson. You can have some pieces that you can then decide. You can use 2025 to decide if they're going to be long-term pieces or not.
Yeah, I think from like a money perspective and all that, I totally get it. Like I'm pretty much done with Rodgers, whether it's now or at the end of, beginning of next season, if you want to let the new GM make that decision. I just think there is very clearly an accountability issue. I think there's very clearly a culture issue. And I think sending that shockwave through the organization sends a very, very sharp message to the
I'm gonna I understand your rationale, but I'm gonna disagree, because I think for an already fractured psyche that these kids have in this locker room, I think doing something like that would only just split it more. You can force, or you can bring about that same accountability if it's done in the off season, and then you just ride out this year, man. You push, maybe you push Tyrod to the side and you say, okay, we're going to see what Olu has for the next 9 games. You let Rodgers go for a little while until you say, okay, we're gonna bring some Tyrod Taylor in or something like that. If the season gets really far out of hand. And you can really see what you have in some of these young guys. You can play Carter Warren, you can play Max Mitchell, you can see if they're going to be pieces. You can see what, Quantez Stiggers or guys like that, can have or give you, and decide where you really need to set the ball rolling to build the roster for 26 and beyond.
Sodak comes in, says, Joe, I'm assuming this is not Blewett, and it's Benigno. Wants Rex Ryan brought in at the bye. Thoughts? I don't think Rex Ryan is solving our problems. Might get us a little more animated, but it's not going to change a whole lot. And so what do you think about that?
No, I want nothing to do with it. It's old news. That's been there, done that. The game has passed Rex. I saw some stuff. I was reading some stuff today that said, supposedly, again, rumors, that's all it is that the Jets are showing interest in John Gruden.
Someone else said that too, and I'm almost like 100% sure he's suing the NFL still.
He is. But listen, it can't, I know the source, he's reputable. They got some, the guys over there at U Stadium have some, some real live connections. It's not like something that's just made up. But you're right in the sense, and that's a touchdown for Miami. Oof.
Oh, shit. I don't
Look at that. Exciting. Who was it? Washington. Malik Washington. Look at that. 18-yard end around, and he held the ball across the goal line. How about that?
Dude, Malachi Corley with the ball drop, like, I am so mad. I would have, like, it's like, dude, just take a seat the rest of the game. Like, just not.
Well, they basically did.
I mean, he's not really getting looks anyway, but, like, that is, like, football 101. There's a big fucking white line for you to run over, and you just, whoops. Like,
my whole thing is
thinking.
Yeah, listen, he was excited, first NFL touchdown, this, that, the other thing. My whole thing with it is, like, what I can't wrap my head around is that's your first NFL touchdown. Like, I wouldn't want to let go of that ball. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to let go of that ball. I'd want to go to sleep with it, so on and so forth. I remember the first time, the little story, first time I hit a home run, like a real home run. I played college baseball. I didn't hit a home run until I was in college. And I was, 19 years old. I slept with my bat. I took my bat with me and I slept with it in the bed and everything. Sure. Like I didn't want to let go of that thing and so on and so forth. So I can't imagine how he doesn't want to just hold that ball, but I digress. Yeah, listen.
Would you want Gruden? Let's spin it this way. Let's say Gruden's an option. You want him?
I don't think it's an option. I just don't think it's an option. I don't. Listen, he's the kind of guy that'll probably bring some accountability. And I don't know if his offensive mind is that washed out. I know he's been out of the league for a couple of years, but
2020 was his last year.
Yeah,
2021.
So if you're gonna go like retread, like real retread, I'd rather go with a guy like Gruden over a guy like Rex for sure. Like 10 out of 10 times. But I just don't think Gruden's in the NFL. I know you and I have talked about, and I love the idea of bringing Brian Flores in here, but he's under the same, he's under the same premise. Like, he's doing the NFL as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the way I look at Gruden is like, I think he got done dirty. I think he was collateral damage from the Snyder emails, but I just don't know how you really come back from that with a locker room full of guys. I mean, I guess he could always just say like, hey, look, oops, this is what I did. This is what I said. Here's the truth of it, or whatever. And then it's water under the bridge at that point. But I like Flores because he was one of those coaches that I was looking at, and I was like, at the time of Gruden getting fired, it was kind of like, wow, they're stuck with a really bad contract, and financially that kind of sucks for the owner and stuff. But Flores to me was more of a surprising, oh man, I thought he was a good coach. Same thing with Vrabel. Like, Flores and Vrabel would be my top two guys. From that respect. I know we've talked about Flores having a little hate towards the Dolphins, possibly, so that's something I do like. Vrabel, I think, brings that accountability. I know Beans brought it up as far as the offensive coordinator the offensive coordinators that have been under Vrabel. Clearly Vrabel has some sort of an eye for offensive coaching, whether that's Arthur Smith or Matt LaFleur, both guys, head coaches plucked away from his team. That would be who I really want to get. I just don't know if he's going to want to come here.
He would probably come here if, the scenario that we talked about and we opened the show with was here, where you said, all right, listen, we're cleaning the house. We're getting rid of all the stink, and it's going to be bad in 2025. You're going to have a young team. You're going to have a full year to really develop these guys and see which ones are pieces that you want to move along with in 2026. And it'd probably come with some, I don't know, to me, I think it's not only the head coach isn't the important hire. To me, it's the hierarchy, the GM and who's going to report to Woody is going to be the more important piece. Because without that, without that foundation in place, you don't have anything, right? And you need a GM that's going to want to bring in a guy that has a shared vision and someone that they, have that kind of synergy with, that they can build. They can build together. So to me, I think the GM is the more important piece. But yeah, to that point, let's hypothetically say Vrabel. I think you're going to have to give him some sort of, not only a big money contract, but you're going to have to give him some sort of, final say in the roster or something like that for him to even consider coming here, and that's going to probably come with a 5 or a 6 year contract because
Sure.
you know that year one, if not year two, the first 2 years are going to be bad. They're just going to be bad.
And I think for the Johnsons' credit too, like aside from canning Gase after 2 years, the Jets have kind of stuck with coaches longer than I think people feel like they should have. So whether that's, it's bad for a fan base, I guess, but it's good for the perceived vision of some job security for at least a 4-year period. And I think because we have been so bad, we got to pay the Jets tax for a coach. The nice thing is that doesn't hit our salary cap. It just hits our billion-dollar owners, pocket, which is totally fine with me. I don't care if Woody loses all his money. Spend it all on the next best coach. I don't care. It could be a zillion dollars. Doesn't hit the cap.
Fun fact about Woody Johnson and the Johnsons and the Maras, both who share MetLife Stadium. Do you know that they each get 25% of all money brought in at the gate and at parking for any non-football event?
I believe it. I mean, they're the ones that paid for the whole stadium. Like the taxpayer didn't pay a single dollar.
Yeah. So that, to me, that's absolutely crazy. Like the idea of getting rid of, moving on from MetLife. It's such a bad stadium. Like they're never going to move on. They're making money hand over fist, even when the Jets and the Giants are not playing or are bad.
They also just built that beautiful Florham Park facility. Like players, I think, would prefer to probably be on the Jersey side of things to get in and out of, the stadium and practice facilities as opposed to being on Long Island. Could be wrong, but maybe Woody just sells the team. Steve Cohen buys it, and that's the hope.
I think they should move the stadium up to Skylands. Put a football stadium at Skyland, where Skyland Stadium is in Augusta.
Yeah, hell yeah!
That's what I'm
right
talking
next
about.
to it. Let's do it. The Miners playing over there. Sorry, Miners, we're getting the Jets
out of here.
Coming up to Sussex County.
We got the Christmas drive-through. You're out of here.
Oh, the Christmas drive-through is great. Can't get rid of that. The Jets are the equivalent of a bag of coal. That's what I got under my Christmas tree. Goddamn Jets.
So I just don't listen. Woody's not going to sell the team. That's an understanding that we don't have to like it, but we have to accept it. So putting that bridge between Woody and the rest of the front office staff is going to be mission critical. Whether it's a GM, and somebody over the GM that reports to Woody, like a president of football operations or something like that. Maybe it's just the president of football operations and you give a coach like a Vrabel the head coach GM title. I don't know how that works. You know what I mean? I don't know how it works, but whatever is in place now or whatever has been in place for the past 4 years under this regime is broken. It's clearly broken, and you need to, you probably need to do the exact opposite to just change something up. I don't know.
We've I don't want to say exercise some of our demons, but Woody's going to be leaving for the UK seemingly, which means we're going to be under Chris Johnson again, the brainchild that brought us Adam Gase. But he also got us Douglas, which I did like for a long time. So I guess now it's just a matter of what happens from here. What GM direction do we go? It's going to be painful for Jet fans for about the next year or so. And look, I'll be honest, I wanted Rodgers. Thought it was the best option as far as like going over the top and winning a Super Bowl. It was, I like Derek Carr. I like the person, Derek Carr, and the fiery competitor a lot from that year, but I thought his ceiling was limited, and you probably were not going to win a Super Bowl with him. Rodgers, I felt like, had that kind of ceiling, but it also had the explosive downside of being a 40-year-old quarterback and it all crumbling. And we had to sell our souls a little bit, one, to make him a de facto GM, and two, to know we were hitching our wagon to him for the next 2, potentially 3 years. And then having all this dead cap hit and dealing with all that. And look, without knowing how it played out currently, I still think that was probably, the move. In hindsight now, Baker Mayfield would have been the best signing we could have made that year.
Yep, absolutely. But it is what it is. We like you said, we hitched our wagon to it, and we thought it was going to take us out of the dumps and into the promised land, and shame on us. Shame on us for believing yet again. So the question is, you know, you got to cut your losses at some point. You got to cut your losses. You know, I think the worst decision that could be made right now is if everyone tries to save face and you bring it back. You know, you bring back not the same crew, because obviously everyone's not coming back, but you know, like, you know, the Rodgers contingency and think that a 42-year-old Rodgers is going to be better than the 41-year-old Rodgers. Maybe he's a year removed from the injury. He's got a year under his belt to play football again. So maybe he gets, you know, like remotely or a little bit better. But as it looks right now, I don't think he's, you know, I don't think he's any good. Like, we play the Colts on Sunday, right? It's Joe Flacco versus Joe Flacco on LSD.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's what it is. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I don't have faith we're winning that game either.
Listen, as I said before, I thought we have a roster of 53 men, not a team, a roster of 53 men that could battle anybody in this league, and that has, you know, that has seemed to diminish. Now, you know, I could see every game, you know, kind of justifying us not winning a single game from here on out. Yeah, there's nothing that they showed on that game, on the game on Sunday, that gives me any vote of confidence for going into Buffalo. Doesn't give me any vote of confidence playing Miami twice.
Nope. The Rams, Seahawks.
The Rams and the Seahawks are both better teams than us, for sure. You know, you want to say Jacksonville? Okay, they're probably in the same shit level as we are. You want to say that you have a good chance there. You want to say you have a puncher's chance versus Colts? Okay. But I don't know if I don't know if I can justifiably say I feel confident about any of the other games.
No, definitely not. Now
that would leave us 4-13, man. 4-13. Think about it. 4-13.
Yeah. You told me Aaron Rodgers healthy the entire year, and you know, you didn't lose any of your main critical pieces aside from Jermaine Johnson. I'd say this team's winning a floor of 10 games.
Minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane where we've come to. Boys and girls, hit that like button if you're as frustrated as we are. We do have a poll question in the chat. Jets quarterbacks in 2025 will be Rodgers plus a rookie, Rodgers plus Tyrod / Jordan Travis, rookie plus Tyrod / Jordan Travis, or a vet plus Tyrod / Jordan Travis. You guys can vote on that in the poll question. Right now, it looks like rookie plus Tyrod and Travis are leading the pack, with Rodgers plus rookie only 7% behind him. So it seems like the fan base is pretty split on this. And I'll be honest, last week, you know, I was kind of saying a similar thing, like, hey, I'm cool with running it back with Rodgers and, you know, under new leadership, and see kind of what happens. Maybe you can spark something. I think after the way this locker room started to look after this most recent loss has had me kind of sour on that mindset. Again, I'm not going to be super passionate about anything we do the rest of the season here. It's just kind of like, well, let's see what happens. I don't have, they've broken me, Dom. They've broken me. They finally did it.
They broke us all, man. They broke us all.
So I guess that gets us into our conversation about quarterbacks for next year. Is there a vet quarterback out there that you can realistically see the Jets bring in, or you think it's kind of Tyrod and then Travis, or Tyrod plus rookie? You know, we're going to assume that Rodgers is not here for the sake of argument.
Yeah, you have. I mean, Tyrod's under contract for $6.8 million. You know, so if the idea is you're getting rid of Rodgers and you're blowing it up and you're taking your lumps, to me, it doesn't make sense to bring in another vet. To do what? To do the same thing that Tyrod Taylor and possibly Jordan Travis could do for you? I mean, that doesn't really make any sense unless, you know, unless there was a guy that gets, you know, like surprisingly cut and you can pick him up for, like, you know, a vet minimum, since the other team's going to be paying his contract. Like, I don't think it'll happen, but I'll just use him as an example. Say Geno Smith. You know, he's got 1 year left on his deal. It's like $25 million, but just say, you know, he's going to be 35. Say the Seahawks say, all right, we're going to move on. You know, we're going a different direction, and they cut him. Just like what Denver did with Russell Wilson. or the Giants will probably do with Daniel Jones.
Mm.
Could it is if you know that you're going to take your lumps and be bad and swallow all your medicine and take a big cap hit in 2025. Do you even bother bringing in a guy like Geno Smith or a guy like Daniel Jones or a guy like that, or just run it with Tyrod Taylor and Jordan Travis?
I wouldn't hate the idea of, like, I don't know if I necessarily feel the need to force quarterback this offseason in the draft. Obviously, we got to go through the draft process. I do not want us passing on a quarterback this year because we're looking towards next year's draft. Like that, like the Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, like, oh, we have Hackenberg. We're totally fine for one more year, and we pass on those guys. I would like to see us draft the quarterback. If we like the quarterback, go up and get him. If you like the quarterback, whatever. But at the same time, if we don't like someone and we wanted to run it back with Tyrod and Travis and just kind of really take our lumps, like we're going to have just a shit show of a season next year and we're going to earn ourselves a high draft pick, then I'm kind of all right with that. I don't think it's going to bode well for the rest of our team. I think that's the situation where you wind up selling off all the parts. You find out who you're going to keep and everyone else winds up getting traded and you have a ton of draft picks. And then I'll be honest, I don't think, even if you were in position to get Arch Manning, I think he probably goes back to school or pivots away from the Jets. I cannot see the Manning family allowing him to go to the New York Jets at this point.
Well, especially in this day and age with the NIL, right?
Yeah.
He could take a fifth year or he could take another year and, make $6-7 million. I think that's what he's making this year in NIL money. Making somewhere in the lines of $4-5 million. He can make that and then some next year. So why? You really, all you're telling these kids is, hey, just, come back and go, you're going to be making money. It's not a matter of, it's not a matter of, you have to go into the league to support your family. These guys are getting paid now, which is why the transfer portal is so, is so flooded with these athletes. They're staying in school, which is why you see players coming out and being drafted at 24, 25 years old now, as opposed to 21 and 22. Because they used to come out because they needed a chance to get their lives going and make money. Now they don't.
Yeah. It's a weird double-edged sword because, like, I like that players are getting paid for their name, image, and likeness, but it definitely kind of gums up the works from like an NFL perspective. Sure. And it also kind of sucks for college teams too. Like I like that players can go wherever they want because coaches can go wherever they want. It's not like a coach has to tell the recruits that he said, hey, I'll be here all the time, and then he just dips out of here. I think they should have that same flexibility that a coach has, but it certainly changes the dynamic. And some of the big head coaches like Nick Saban isn't doing it anymore because of the NIL deals and whatnot. So I think it changes the recruiting dynamic too. I don't know if the SEC is necessarily always going to be the juggernaut. You might get more like local teams. Like I think Texas having probably a ton of boosters is going to be a pretty good hotbed for prospects moving forward. And I think you'll see that, through some of those big schools like that. Brian comes in. Brian says, give Rex the team for 2 years and clean house. We need old-time football and get this team attractive to a young, stellar, offensive-minded coach. I would say Rex Ryan is kind of my break glass in case of emergency type pick. Like if you're down on like the 4th or 5th rung of offensive-minded coach and, the retreads in Vrabel or whoever else weren't options for us. I think at that point, before I go to option 4 or 5, I'm probably more okay with Rex for a year or two to, like this super chat says, sort of clean house, reset the ship. I would prefer him more as a defensive coordinator and have that like wily old guy kind of mentality with it, even just a shot in the dark offensive coordinator. I don't know if I necessarily want him as like the head coach unless I really couldn't do anything else. Any thoughts on Rex coming in a worst case scenario?
I you know what? I would rather. I don't know if I'd say that. Yeah, I think I might say that. I don't know. Like you could take a coin, you could reach into a bag and draw a name out of a hat, and whether it be Rex or Ulbrich, and I'd be fine. Like I don't want Rex. I don't want Ulbrich. but I don't want Rex either. Like that to me, like I said, it doesn't move the needle whatsoever. You could, if you're,
it's definitely rearranging chairs on the Titanic for sure.
That's
but
it.
I feel
That's
like
it.
at least you're a floor up with Rex from like, I'm going to yell at people now, or I'm going to like, we're going to get motivated. And like, I feel like that motivation factor could potentially be there. I don't think we're getting anything like that out of Ulbrich right now. Like he just seems, I feel so bad for the dude at the podium. He's like, I did not want this. Like I was supposed to be the DC. This shit sucks. I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know, man. Rex doesn't do it for me though. Brian Anderson, not me.
Jimmy says Ewers if he's there. So I guess let's pull over a little bit of the quarterback list for the draft. Just sort of talk a little bit about this. Is there a name on here that you like more than other ones? Or is there guys on here you would not touch? I will say right now, I am terrified of Sanders. I just feel like we are a powder keg. And I mean, you want explosive. It would be finding a way to draft him and bring his dad, along with him. Like that just feels like a LeVar Ball kind of situation. I don't really want to deal with that. I'd like to be a little more under the radar for a bit.
Yeah. So I'll say this, and as a kind of from like a high level view of this quarterback class, it's not nearly as strong as it's been in past years, especially not last year. Even the top end talent, even the guys that are going to go, or that probably earned a first round grade. Like I said, I'm not done with all of my scouting reports right now. I only have 2 first round grades on the quarterbacks, with one having a fringe first/second. I know there's going to be more guys that go in the first round. I know that you don't have to have a first round grade to be taken in the first round, and obviously quarterbacks always get bumped up. But even if you took, and right now obviously the 2 big names are Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, right? Those are the 2 big names. Those are the guys everybody knows. After that, it's to me, I think it's those 2 guys, and then there's a big gap. And then there's about 3 or 4 guys in that next mix. And the crazy part is in that next mix, they're all young kids, right? In no specific order. You got Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. You have Jalen Milroe from Alabama. You have Drew Allar from Penn State. All those guys are true juniors, right? They can all go back to school, right? They're and probably, if we're being honest, they probably should. Garrett Nussmeier, the kid from LSU, I mean, he is a spitfire. Like, he throws throws the ball all over the field. Has good bloodlines. His dad is the quarterbacks coach for the Eagles. So that he's got that mental, he's got the mental aptitude that is going to be necessary to be an NFL caliber starting quarterback. But he only has 8 starts under his belt. Right. This is like drafting Mark Sanchez all over again. Right. The talent is there, but you're going to, and you can see it in his play. He's had some really, really good games where he makes some really good, throws to NFL open windows, so on and so forth. And then you see him crumble under pressure and stuff like that as well. So he just needs some more, time, some more reps. So he's a guy I think will probably end up going back to school. Jalen Milroe, who's my right now, again, not done with anything. It's only November. I probably won't be finalized and probably close to the end of December, beginning of January. But right now Jalen Milroe is probably my 3rd favorite in this class, and he's not a guy that you're going to turn the keys over to as well. Wonderful build, stocky, 6 foot, almost 6'2", 6'1.5", 6'2", 225 pounds. He's a true, built stocky, true dual threat guy. Has a howitzer for an arm, throws a really good arm, but it's the mental aspect, the mental processing is stuff where he really struggles. Last year playing under Nick Saban, he's in a pro style offense. This year under King DeBurr, more of a collegey, zone read kind of scheme, more of a collegey, and he's played very well this year. But last year at times in the pro offense, when he's asked to you know, manipulate the defense with his eyes and get through his progressions and understand what he's looking at pre-snap and make adjustments to what's happening post-snap. You know, he struggled, you know, and the struggle you can tell is mental because it affects his accuracy and stuff like that, you know. So he has an elevator shaft kind of upside. You know, if he gets put in the right with the right coach and given time to develop and work through some of that stuff, like sky's the limit. He could be the best player in this entire draft class 5 years from now. You know, but that's a big proposition to ask. He's not a guy that you want to come in and start right away. He's just not. You know, he's a guy that, you know, a team might take early. A team might take in the top 10 and, you know, also sign a bridge quarterback for 2 years, you know, sign a Tyrod Taylor, sign a Gardner Minshew to kind of steer the ship for 2 years while you learn. And then Drew Allar is another kid. Like I said, he's 6'5", he's 240 pounds. He's your prototypical pocket passer. His throwing motion and his mechanics remind me a lot of Jeff George. Like he's got like that kind of arm. You know, he's also got that kind of mobility. And again, last year he was really bad. He's gotten a lot better, but it's not perfect yet. Like there's still questions about his accuracy. You know, there's still question. You know, he's not necessarily like Milroe. Like he's not a one read and run kind of guy, but he definitely struggles, and he definitely struggles with some of the mental, some of the processing of what's happening with the defense, reading the defenses. You see a lot of, you know, a lot of the confusion that comes across. We watched, you know, for 2.5 years with Zach Wilson, right? That like not really understanding what is checking out of plays, thinking you're seeing something, you're checking into the wrong play, and so on and so forth, like that kind of stuff, you know. But arm talent through the roof, you know, can make, you know, has good, you know, a real live NFL arm, you know, probably the most elite arm in the class, can make all the throws, you know, throws from, you know, it knows how to change his angles and has good elasticity in his elbow and his shoulder. So he can fling it. But he still just needs a little bit more seasoning. Now, you know, I just put out a mock draft, a full first round mock on my channel. And he was the guy I ended up taking for the Jets at pick 10. You know, and my premise under that pick was he's not my third favorite quarterback. You know, the other two that we're going to talk about went, you know, they went off the board early. He's not my third favorite quarterback, and it went under the premise that Aaron Rodgers is coming back, and you want to get a guy like Drew Allar and sit him behind Aaron Rodgers and learn, you know. And I think the reason why I took him over a guy like Milroe or Nussmeier, you know, for in this mock draft exercise was
cold weather.
Well, I mean, obviously the cold weather experience, but he's also, I think, has the makeup, you know, of a traditional pocket passer. I think that's going to be more attractive to the majority of GMs. Some of these guys don't like these, you know, zone read guys coming out of college. They don't progress well, right? You know, or you need a lot of work. Like this is, you know, to me, I think he's the most traditional, and I think that might be more appealing to a head coach or GM, you know. But there's two guys that I trust to really come in and be starters, and we'll only get into one of them now because I know we're pushing up against the time. And I want to talk about Shedeur.
I want to talk about yours real quick because you gave us a little. I saw Jimmy's comment, and Brian, I'll get to your super chat in just a second, but I want to drill down a little harder on Quinn.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers, you know. To me, you know, again, he's a guy who came into college, came out of high school as a number one recruit, came in with all the accolades, was supposed to be, you know, like the hero, you know, went to Ohio State, transferred out of Ohio State, went to Texas, just hasn't been able to put it all together, you know, all the talent in the world. But to me, there's something about his makeup that doesn't smell like NFL quarterback. On top of it, he is always hurt. You know, the guy has a walk-in injuries, a little bit of sleight of frame. You know, yeah, he shows well in 𝐒𝐿 offense there, but I don't know how that's going to transfer to the next level. Like I said, there's highs and there's lows with Quinn Ewers, and the lows are so bad, dude. The lows are so bad. He's a guy that I think really he's going to get drafted. I don't think he's going to get drafted in the first round. He's the guy that needs to take the Jordan Love, the Jordan Love Express and really just sit for 3 or 4 years and kind of develop and kind of grow and kind of get a little stronger, kind of get a little head stronger, because I'm sure it's not easy, man, being like the number one recruit coming out of high school and having all these expectations and not really living up to them, right? Not really ever living up to them. So he's a guy that I'm a hard pass on.
Brian comes in and says, no great coach prospect will come here. It's too big of a mess. It's where all coaches and quarterbacks come to die. Our roster is terrible. It's a 3 to 4 year rebuild at best. So I get what Brian's saying here. I do think we're going to be pretty far down on the rung as far as the head coaches will be able to attract. I think we are going to have to overpay to get someone here. And I hope our owners are wise enough to make sure they overpay to get that person here. As far as this roster is terrible, I really don't think it's terrible. I think you got a lot of really good core guys here on this team. I think you need a spark. I think you do need, an offensive-minded guy, whether that be the OC or the head coach, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's a 3 or 4 year rebuild. I would say maybe a 2 year rebuild, realistically. But it depends on how many of those young stars you decide to keep. If you're deciding to, hey, we're pulling the plug, we're trading Sauce, we're trading Brees. We're like, once you start making all those moves, then you're like, okay, it is kind of set up to be that more 3 year rebuild. But we've seen the Lions turn it around real quick. We've seen the Texans turn it around real quick. It's all about getting the right quarterback, and then a lot of these other pieces start to fall into place. What are your thoughts on Brian's comment here?
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree. I agree that it's a mess. The organization's a mess. I don't necessarily agree with the roster is terrible. Like you said, I think it's got some pieces. You're returning 4 guys on the offensive line. The oldest will be 27 next year, right? Olu's going to be 22. Tippmann's going to be 24. Elijah Vera Tucker's going to be 26, and Simpson's going to be 27. That's solid. You got running backs that the running back room, all 4 of them. The oldest is going to be 23 years old. Garrett Wilson is one of one right now, and he's going to be 24 years old. Malachi Corley, who knows, if you're going to develop him. So you have some good core pieces. Like you said, it depends how many of those good core pieces are pieces you decide to keep for 2026. That's a whole different story. But to me, I think it'll be, I agree with this first part that says no great coach prospect will want to come here if the Aaron Rodgers circus is still in town. That's going to be a tough sell, and that's when you end up saying, all right, we're either going to ride Ulbrich out until Rodgers retires, or you're going to bring in a Rex, one of those.
Now, you said you wanted to drill a little bit harder down on Sanders. Is that what you were going towards?
Yeah. Shedeur Sanders. I know that there's a lot. There's a lot of baggage that comes with Shedeur Sanders. Just being Deion's son, all that. Mumbo jumbo. You sign up for that as well. And Deion's been pretty adamant. Again, I don't think he's going to come to the Jets. I don't think we're going to be picking high enough. Well, who knows? But I don't think that he's going to be in the earmarks. I really expect Shedeur Sanders to be off the board in the top 4 picks, top 4 or 5 picks at most, depending on how the season ends up. But there's teams that need quarterbacks outside of the Jets, and that's Carolina, the Giants, Cleveland, Tennessee. Who else am I missing? The Raiders. All these teams, could be in this mix, and they all need quarterbacks as well. So Sanders is 6'2", or right around 6'2", right around 200 pounds. Listen, I think he needs some time in the weight room. I think he needs to get a little bit stronger. He's got a little bit of a slight build, less than average, I'd say. But you put him in an NFL workout regime, he has a frame where he can take on a little bit more muscle. I think in term, it'll only help him. He's got small hands. I know that whole Kenny Pickett thing. Yeah. Cold weather, small hands. So I don't know if that, is something that people really, really care. I know Kenny Pickett made it, really popular. Kenny Pickett had really, really small hands, but
tiny. I think it was like 8.5 inches. It was
Shedeur Sanders is under 9.5 inches. And listen, maybe it has to do with a lot of the fumbles that he has in college, because he does, throughout his college career, he's fumbled the ball a lot. Listen, his arm. Let's talk about his arm talent first off. It's good. No, it's not great. He doesn't have elite arm talent. He doesn't have the strongest arm in the throw. He's got a quick, really, really mechanically sound release on his throws. His whole thing is how accurate he is. He throws like with precision. Might not have a lot of zip, or might not have the zip of like a Drew Aller or Cam Ward, but he throws his receivers open. He can hit those small windows. He, like I said, those anticipation throws, he does a good job. He utilizes the entire field. He works over the middle of the field. I think where he really stands out is his football IQ, right? Excellent. He understands football. He understands the nuances that comes with playing quarterback. He's, a good pre-snap and post-snap diagnosis, can change things on the fly, reads coverages, gets through full field progressions, the whole thing that you want from quarterbacks. Does a good job manipulating defenses, uses his eyes well. He's not necessarily, he's probably got average to a little bit of below average athleticism. He's not a dual threat guy, but he's mobile enough. I'd probably say in the realm of like Drake May mobility, like, he can move enough. He's not going to kill you with his legs, but he can move enough. But where Shedeur Sanders makes up is, like I said, that football IQ, the smarts. He's tough as nails. A lot of people say that he's soft, because he's very animated and all that. That's not how he plays, though. He'll step in there with pressure right in his face, and he'll stand up there and he'll step into his throws. He's really smart with the ball. 2 years now, for 2 consecutive years, he's had less than a 2% turnover worthy play percentage, which is like really, really good. He understands how to dissect the defense. For Jets purposes, think of a little bit more mobile, a little bit stronger of an arm, Chad Pennington. Like, he's that kind of processor of the game. Like, I really think that's a good correlation, especially since this is Jets channel. Everyone remembers Chad. I think that this is a good now, and in the end, Chad Pennington wasn't a number 1, number 2 quarterback off the board, right? Chad Pennington went in the 20s. That's probably where Sanders talent-wise ends up. By talent, he's probably, maybe the 20th or 25th best talented prospect in this class. He's going to go in the top 5 because he's a guy that can come in and play.
I'm going to say he's going to one of two teams. I'm looking at Tankathon right now, and obviously this is going to change a bit. I think Miami's going to win some games. They're going to, move down this list a little bit more. I see the Raiders and Dallas as the 2 most likely landing spots for Sanders. What do you think?
The Raiders, they've been tied. He's been tied to the Raiders for a long time. Obviously, he learned and he's trained by Tom Brady. Tom Brady is his mentor. Tom Brady is now an owner for the Raiders. So Tom Brady's worked with Shedeur Sanders since he was a kid. In training him. So, he plays, he's got that mental kind of makeup, that tough, like gritty. He's a gamer. He's a guy you want to go to war with. I don't know if did
they pay Dak? Sorry, I see.
They did pay Dak. They extended Dak.
I was thinking it was in the last year of his contract. That makes sense.
So if it means anything, Deion has already intimated that he will not let Shedeur Sanders play in cold weather. So to me, the Raiders and Tennessee are 2 spots that I think make a whole heck of a lot of sense. They both have, obviously the Raider connection with Tom Brady and, and the head coach over there. But, Tennessee has a young offensive mind, a good offensive line.
You think Dad comes with him?
No, I don't.
I hope not. Dad goes with him. I don't want to see like a, kind of that LeBron-esque, I'm bringing my kid with me.
Yeah. So he's a polarizing prospect. He's going to hear his name early. Listen, he might end up as my quarterback 1 when it's all said and done. It's right there. It's really close between him and Cam Ward. They do things differently, and some people like the arm talent that Cam Ward has better, and some people like the smarts that Shedeur plays with better. And I'm on the fence with both.
Phil comes in with a last second super chat here, says Drew Aller looks special. How high does he go after the NFL Combine? Can Jets get him? he does. How does he compare to Josh Allen and Justin Herbert? Get BJ. So
Get BJ. I don't know.
I don't know. I think he's just very excited, and maybe that's what he's talking about. I have no idea.
I was going to say, like, where do I sign up?
Where do I sign up? Yeah, that's where my head goes. I think the story with Drew Allar, for me, and I think you might have been the one that said it. Someone said it in our group chat that the Jets contingent was at Penn State for a game last week or 2 weeks ago.
The Jets. So the Jets have been at 3 Penn State games.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State and Oregon. The Jets have had heavy contingency with throughout the first 11 weeks of the college. But there's plenty of guys on those teams that they could do their eye out. It could be Tyler Warren, the do-it-all tight end for Penn State, who's really, really good. They could have their eyes on him. They could have
I'd be so burnt up if we passed on Bowers to take a tight end this year. I would be so frustrated.
Listen, I don't think they would take him in the top 10. He's not going to go in the top 10. So I'm just using names like there's Abdul Carter, who's the next best, probably arguably the best edge rusher in the class of Penn State. And edge is a position need for the Jets, and a position of importance that that this regime focuses on. Right? They focus on edge rushers, wide receivers, cornerbacks, and quarterbacks, and tackles. So
before we get much further, and we are wrapping up here, just want your thoughts as far as the regime change. How much impact does the scouting department see? Sometimes there's a year kind of overlap. We also have local scouts that I don't think necessarily get swapped out.
Yeah. So how it usually works is, Joe Douglas, I'm assuming come, January 7th or whenever the day after our last game is, that Black Monday, you're going to hear that the Jets and Joe Douglas have, amicably parted ways. At that point, you're well into your draft prep already. Right? They're probably not going to name a coach before the draft. So what you're going to probably do is you're going to keep that entire draft staff together. That staff from the previous regime is going to guide the draft prep up into the draft meetings. They're going to be at the Senior Bowl. They're going to be at the Combine. They're going to be, the front office or the scouts are the ones that are going to, they've done all the work on these guys for numerous years now. Right. So,
do you see that as a good or a bad thing that this regime would have fingerprints all over next regimes?
Well, it's not uncommon, when they hired Joe Douglas, they hired Joe Douglas right after the draft. Remember when they fired McCagnon, right?
Yeah. They hired Joe in July, I think.
Yeah. You know why that was? 4th. Because McCagnon's team had already done all the draft work prep. You can't fire and get rid of all those guys and have them take their intellectual property with them. And then, you're going shooting blind. And it's not like these guys all have scouts that have been watching these guys for 3 years already come with them. You need time for a front office to build that staff. So this staff and this team of scouts now are the ones that are going to push us through April.
Brian comes in with a super chat, says, there is not a quarterback in the draft, plus we can't develop a quarterback, nor do we have the time. Coach has to be priority number 1. Beg for Malik Willis from Green Bay as a stopgap. I don't really want Malik Willis. I would probably be more apt to take a flyer on the free agent, Justin Fields for a year and let him and Tyrod and Travis just duke it out, and not go quarterback this year before going with Willis.
To this super chat, I don't disagree. Like I said, I think that, if you have a shot to get Shedeur Sanders, you have a shot to get Cam Ward. I think you take that shot. Outside of that, if you want to pass and then take whatever's left and take a dart throw in the 2nd or 3rd round on one of these guys, that I'd be fine with that. I don't think you have to reach for any of these guys. This is not a class that you want to reach for. Put it that way.
Yeah, I was going to say that I'm open to a few different routes that we go this year. If they want to go quarterback, fine. If they want to stock the lines, I'm fine with that. I like the idea of trading down and adding some more picks since we've given up a little bit the last few years. So I'm kind of flexible, and I think any direction we decide to go this offseason in this draft. But Dom, It's been a lot of fun talking with you. It's honestly been the highlight of my last 2 days, for sure.
Oh, man. I appreciate it. And Tua gets picked.
Good.
I love it.
Screw him. He sucks.
They're up 10-0 though. They're up 10-0.
I don't care. He sucks. Any last words for our chat out there?
Yeah, content on my channel. I'm not one to push my own channel. I'm not,
That's why you're here. Come on,
no, that's but I did put out my first video of the year, just an early mid NFL season first round mock draft. I was so pissed off with the Jets game yesterday. I need to film something. But there is going to be a lot more draft related content. If that's your thing, if maybe it's too early for you, if you're not really into it, but if you want to learn, do me a favor, just come by, like, subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna be doing live drafts. I bring guests on all the time. I'm gonna be doing positional breakdowns, really doing kind of like what we did here with Shedeur Sanders. I do that in a lot more depth on my channel as well, and hopefully I'll get to do some of that with you here, Ryan, until April.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be talking a whole lot of Jets draft over here on Talkin Jets Draft. Boys and girls, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. It does appear that our poll has flipped. We have 222 votes. We ended with 35% wanting Rodgers plus a rookie, 32% wanting a rookie plus Tyrod and Travis, 19% wanting Rodgers plus Tyrod and Travis, so a little run it back action, and then 14% said a vet plus Tyrod and Jordan Travis. So if you're listening to this after the fact, you want to let us know down below what you think of it. Been a lot of fun talking with you guys. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS, and I'll be over on my channel in like 2 minutes. So catch you over there.